The jungle was alive. Strange glowing plants hummed softly. Trees moved like they were breathing. Blue mist floated between thick alien trunks. Birds with glassy wings flew overhead, singing in tones no human ear had heard before. Kyle, a young human botanist, stepped carefully between the roots. He had a scanner in one hand and a small notebook in the other. He had been sent to study alien plants on the planet Zerilia. His job was simple: observe, record, and collect harmless samples. But nothing felt simple today. It was his third day in the forest, and already he had seen things that looked like floating flowers, trees with skin, and vines that purred when touched. But one plant in particular caught his eye. In the center of a sunlit clearing, a thick tree stood tall, its trunk dark purple. Hanging from its branches were large, glowing fruits. They were round, shiny, and almost golden, but with strange light. Pulsing inside them like small suns trapped in glass, Kyle's scanner beeped. Unidentified biological energy. High levels of organic transformation compound. He smiled. Now that's interesting. As he reached up to pick one, a soft voice shouted from behind, "Wait! Don't touch that!" He turned. A young alien girl stood there, eyes wide, hands raised. Her skin was pale lavender, and her long silver hair shimmered in the sunlight. She wore a simple robe of tribal cloth and metal beads, and her large purple eyes looked both shocked and afraid. "I just wanted to collect one," Kyle said, holding up the fruit. "Is it dangerous?" The alien girl stepped forward, waving her hands. "Not dangerous, but not for touching, not for giving." She looked nervous. "You not know what that means?" Kyle frowned. "It's just a fruit, right?" The alien girl bit her lip. She looked down, then back at him. "That is Druluvana. For females only when ready." She blushed slightly. "It is sacred." "Oh, sorry." Kyle looked at the glowing ball in his hand. "Should I put it back?" Before she could answer, he chuckled and smiled. "Here, take it back then." He gently tossed the fruit to her. The moment her hands caught it, a strange pulse echoed through the forest. The trees trembled. A soft ringing sound filled the air. Then it happened. The fruit melted in her hands like warm jelly and disappeared into glowing particles. The girl gasped. Her face turned deep purple. She clutched her chest suddenly and looked horrified. Kyle's smile faded. "Are you okay?" She stepped back, her hands pressing tightly over her chest. "You gave me. Luvana. You did the gift ritual?" "What?" "No, I just—" She shook her head. "Now my body reacts. The gift is accepted. The change begins." And then Kyle saw it. Her upper body shimmered. A strange energy pulsed through her robe, and slowly her chest began to grow noticeably. She groaned softly, her face turning even more red. Or purple, rather. Kyle's eyes widened in shock. "Oh, no. I didn't mean to—" The alien girl covered herself with her arms, turning her back to him. Double quotes. "You You enlarged my coconuts," she whispered. "You're what now?" She turned around quickly, cheeks puffed with embarrassment. "They are sacred. Signs of a Zerilian woman's bond readiness. Only bonded mates give Reluvana, now. Now everyone will see me and think you. You are my chosen." Kyle's heart started pounding. "Look, this is all just a mistake. I didn't know, I swear." But the girl didn't seem to hear. She was panicking now, pacing back and forth. "My people will know. They will smell it." "The forest already does? You gave me the fruit?" My body changed. "You marked me." Kyle dropped his scanner. This was bad. Very bad. He thought he was just collecting samples for science. But now, somehow, he had unknowingly taken part in a sacred Zerilian bonding ritual. "Listen," Kyle said gently, stepping closer. "Tell me how to fix it. Maybe there's a way to reverse it." "I'll do anything." The girl stopped walking and looked at him. Her hands were still covering her chest. Her eyes were shiny now, her voice softer. "You do not understand. There is no going back." Then far off in the forest, the sound of drums began. She turned pale. "They come now, my clan. They will see you, they will know. And they will." Ask ... if you will complete the bond. Kyle stepped back. Wait, what does that mean? The girl looked down and whispered, You gave the fruit. You started the change. Now, you must finish it or I will face shame. Kyle looked at the jungle around him, then at her, and then at the rising purple mist rolling in like warning smoke. And for the first time since he landed on this planet, Kyle truly felt like he was in deep trouble. Kyle walked behind her through the jungle, head spinning. 1 minute he was a science guy collecting alien fruits. The next, he was part of some sacred bonding ritual he didn't understand, and now, the alien girl still hiding her chest behind her arms was leading him back to her camp. She didn't speak much. Every time Kyle tried asking a question like, So what exactly did the fruit do? Or are we married now? She just blushed harder and waved at him to be quiet. The moment they stepped into the open tribal camp, silence fell. Dozens of Zerilian villagers stared. Children stopped playing. Warriors froze mid-spear practice. Even the campfires seemed to flicker differently. All eyes locked onto her, and then onto him. Whispers began to spread like fire through dry leaves. Look, she glows. Her. Coconuts, he gave her the fruit. That human, he chose her. Kyle cleared his throat. I come in peace? Tlea, still red-faced, muttered under her breath. Please don't say anything. A tall female warrior with glowing face markings stepped forward. She looked at Tlea's chest, then at Kyle, then back again. She has been gifted the Luvana, and she lives, the warrior said coldly. Is this human your mate now? Kyle raised both hands. Whoa, no, listen, this is a huge misunderstanding. But before he could explain, another alien woman leaned in and whispered to the warrior, Look at how round they are. Perfect symmetry? The transformation is complete? Kyle blinked. Perfect what now? Tlea looked like she wanted the ground to open and swallow her. She tugged at her robe and whispered, They are measuring me. This is so embarrassing. Kyle whispered back, Well, I think they're impressed, not helping. She hissed. Suddenly, a loud horn echoed through the camp. An elder, wrinkled, ancient, and glowing faintly with golden lines on her skin, walked forward with a staff. Everyone bowed. She pointed the staff at Kyle. You have awakened the bond. Now you must answer. Answer what? Kyle asked nervously. The elder's voice was deep and serious. Do you claim her? Kyle looked at Tlea. Tlea looked away, clearly hoping he would say no, but also clearly terrified if he did. He turned to the elder. What happens if I say no? The elder replied simply, Then she becomes unbalanced. Her body will remain changed. She will carry the symbol of bonding ... but no mate. It is the greatest shame for a Zerilian female. Kyle's jaw dropped. Wait, so I ruined her life? The elder shrugged like it wasn't a big deal. Only if you walk away. The villagers began murmuring again. Some looked angry. Others looked curious. A few young alien girls even giggled and whispered to each other, staring at Kyle with wide eyes like he was now the galaxy's most desirable bachelor. Kyle scratched his head. I seriously just wanted to study plants. Meanwhile, Tlea quietly sat on a stone nearby. Her face was still bright purple. She held her knees, curled into a ball, and whispered, Why did I even catch that fruit? A small group of maidens surrounded her and whispered excitedly, He's not ugly, for a human. You're lucky. My coconuts haven't even grown yet. Do you think he'll touch your skin in the ritual chamber? Tlea groaned. Stop. Then one brave alien boy leaned over to Kyle and asked, Sir, is it true humans prefer bigger coconuts? Kyle choked. I don't even... What kind of camp is this? Suddenly, the elder slammed her staff on the ground. The human shall stay the night. At dawn we decide. Decide what? Kyle asked, panic rising. The elder smiled. Whether the bond becomes permanent, or the shame is sealed. The villagers slowly began to disperse, still whispering and pointing at Kyle and Tlea. Later that evening, Kyle sat inside a small hut made from glowing silk and vines. Tlea sat across from him, wrapped tightly in a large blanket that covered her chest completely. Neither of them spoke for a while. Finally, Kyle said, "Look, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I just thought it was a fruit." Playa nodded, still not meeting his eyes. "I know." He chuckled nervously. "So, your people really call them coconuts?" She groaned and covered her face with the blanket. "That's the translator's word." "It's not accurate," Kyle laughed softly. "Well, I'm sorry. For the coconuts, and for the glowing. And for possibly bonding with you by accident." Cleo looked at him. For the first time she smiled, just a little. "It is not the worst thing that could have happened," she said quietly. "At least you didn't run away like others would have." Kyle nodded. "I'm just hoping I survive long enough to leave a review on Space Trip Advisor." Outside, the drums began again. The ritual chamber was being prepared, and Kyle had no idea what was coming next. The next morning arrived too fast. Kyle barely slept. The drums outside had gone silent in the middle of the night, but his thoughts didn't. Inside the soft alien hut, he lay awake, staring at the strange ceiling made of glowing silk and whispering. "Leaves?" Across from him, Playa sat with her knees hugged to her chest, still wrapped in that oversized blanket. She hadn't said much since last night, but Kyle could feel the heat between them, awkward, not romantic. More like the heat of two people stuck in a weird accident that might end in public judgment. And death. Probably death. Suddenly a young alien boy burst into the hut. His skin shimmered like fish scales and he looked excited. "It's time! The circle of elders is waiting!" Kyle groaned. "I still don't know what I'm even being accused of." Playa stood slowly, sighing. "You'll understand soon, maybe." Kyle narrowed his eyes. "That maybe doesn't feel great." The ceremonial court wasn't a courtroom. Not really. It was a wide circle of polished stone, surrounded by massive glowing roots, with alien villagers gathered all around. At the center stood the High Matron, a woman so ancient her eyes looked made of liquid gold. Kyle stood beside Playa. She still wouldn't let go of her blanket. Around them, whispers filled the air like buzzing insects. Then a loud voice spoke. He performed the gift ritual without knowledge, without permission. He may be a fool, but even fools bring consequences. Kyle looked around. Who said that? A strong male alien stepped forward. His armor was made of bone and crystal. He had markings across his face, and he walked like a warrior used to command. His name was Gravix, and Kyle immediately didn't. Like him, Playa's face went pale. "Gravix is a chosen suitor," she whispered. "He once asked to bond with me. I refused." Gravix pointed at Kyle. "He insulted our ways. He gave the sacred fruit like it was candy. And now he walks free while she bears the signs of maturity? This outsider must answer." Kyle raised his hands. "Hey, I didn't know it was some kind of sacred coconut magic fruit thing. I was trying to be nice." Laughter rippled through the crowd, some amused, some angry. The High Matron lifted her hand. "The ritual has begun, yet the bond is incomplete. And so, by tradition, the outsider must face the trial of intent." Kyle blinked. "The what now?" Gravix grinned. "It means we test your heart," the elder said, "to see if your bond was by accident or by secret desire." Kyle turned to Tlaya. "Is there a version of this trial that doesn't include me being turned into space soup?" She shook her head. "Not really, sorry." The trial was bizarre. First, Kyle had to sit in front of a glowing root and speak his deepest truth into it. He said, "I like coffee, and I didn't mean to make anyone's body grow." The root turned purple and hissed. The villagers gasped. "That means his words are half-truth," Gravix smirked. "He liked what?" "He saw. I mean, look, okay, she's attractive, but that's not the point." Next, Kyle was made to hold hands with Tlaya while walking over hot stones that didn't burn the skin, but somehow made emotions glow in different colors. Kyle's side glowed green, calm, confused, honest. Tlaya's side glowed red, embarrassed, unsure, but not unwilling. The final part of the trial was a question. The High Matron asked, "Would you bond with her, knowing you never meant to, but also knowing she may suffer if you walk away?" Silence. Kyle looked at Tlaya. Her eyes didn't beg, but they waited. He opened his mouth. Gravik suddenly cut in. This outsider is unworthy. He caused shame. I challenge him. I challenge the bond. Let it be decided by strength, as our ancestors demanded, the villagers roared. Playa stood quickly. No, he's not one of us. You can't. Gravix pointed. He stepped into our ritual. He wears your scent. He must earn the right. Kyle looked around, panic growing. What scent? I don't wear anything, the elder spoke again. So be it. At moonfall, the trial of strength. Playa pulled Kyle away fast, her face pale. This is bad, she whispered. Define bad, Kyle said. He's a battle-matched warrior. You're a plant nerd. Okay, rude but fair. They both stopped behind a glowing tree, away from the crowd. Kyle rubbed his face. Is there any way out? Playa looked up at him. There is one. He leaned closer. Yeah? She hesitated, then blushed. You could choose me now. Complete the bond if I mark you. They can't. Challenge you? Kyle blinked. Mark me? She held up a glowing stone from her belt. One touch? One word, one symbol on your chest? Kyle stared at the stone. The drums began again in the distance, and Kyle realized either he fights a warrior in a death match, or gets claimed by a shy alien girl with glowing coconuts. This was not in the human exploration guide. Asterisk. Kyle stood frozen. In one hand, he held the glowing bindstone that Playa had given him. In the other he held a vine-woven spear the tribe had offered, just in case he chose to fight Gravix instead. Both options felt like traps. On one side, a proud alien warrior who wanted to break Kyle's bones just for breathing near Playa. On the other, a blushing alien girl who, until yesterday, had been a stranger and now talked about marking him with a glowing rock that bound souls. He looked at Playa. She looked away. The sky above turned orange-pink as the twin suns of Zerilia began to set. The camp buzzed with whispers. The tribe gathered near the ceremonial grounds, a wide ring of glowing stones, where important bonds were sealed. I still don't understand, Kyle whispered. What happens if I let you use this stone on me? Playa held the stone tightly in her fingers. Her voice trembled, but her words were clear. If I place the bindstone on your chest, it will mark you, not just your skin, your spirit. It means you accept the bond, you protect me, and I protect you, forever? Kyle blinked. Forever's a long time, she nodded slowly. On my world, it means more than just marriage, it's life matching. If your soul shifts, mine shifts too. If you feel pain, I feel it. Kyle rubbed the back of his neck. That's wow! Playa took a deep breath. But if you refuse and Gravix defeats you, he can claim me. I won't have a choice. Kyle's heart thudded. He looked at her closely. She wasn't just afraid of Gravix. She was afraid of being owned. You said you didn't want to bond with him before, Kyle said. Playa nodded. I want to choose, not be claimed like an object. She looked up, this time meeting Kyle's eyes. But if you don't want me either, I'll accept the shame. Kyle hesitated. This wasn't what he came for. He came to study plants, not break alien traditions or hearts, but now? He was part of something bigger than a fruit or a joke. Later that evening, the drums echoed through the forest. Kyle stood barefoot inside the glowing ring of stones. His chest was bare. Playa stood across from him, still wrapped in her ceremonial blanket. Holding the bindstone in both hands, the elders watched in silence. Gravix glared from the shadows, arms crossed. A soft voice echoed from the crowd. If he walks away now, the bond breaks, and shame falls on the girl. Another voice answered, but if he accepts, the fire will show their fate. The high matron stepped forward. Begin. Playa walked slowly toward Kyle. Every step she took, the ground beneath her lit up one stone at a time. Glowing with her energy, her hands trembled as she reached up, holding the bindstone close to Kyle's chest. The crystal glowed bright, warm, alive. This will sting, she said softly. Kyle smiled nervously. You've said that 3 times now. I mean it this time. She pressed the stone to his heart. The effect was instant. A golden flame burst upward from the ground, surrounding them in a ring of energy. The villagers gasped. Symbols of the Zerilian language swirled through the air, spinning between them. Kyle's eyes widened, his chest glowed, and the symbol of Tlea's tribe burned softly onto his skin. It didn't hurt, but it pulsed like a second heartbeat. Tlea's breath caught in her throat. Her coconuts shimmered again, briefly but then stabilized. The energy around them settled and then silence. No one moved. Then the High Matron stepped forward and spoke one single word: bonded. A cheer rose from the crowd. Some clapped. Others bowed. The drums played again, but this time not for war. For unity. Gravik spat on the ground and stormed off, defeated not by fists, but by choice. Tlea lowered her arms and looked at Kyle. "You're marked now," she said softly. He looked down at the glowing tribal symbol on his chest. "Yeah, I noticed." She blushed again. "You didn't have to," Kyle smiled. "Yeah, but I wanted to." Later, as night fell, Kyle sat outside the ceremonial tent, watching the stars. Tlea joined him quietly. "I don't know what your people will say," she said. Kyle shrugged. "Probably something like, 'Kyle, why are you glowing and bonded?' To an alien girl with, energy coconuts?" Tlea burst into laughter, surprising even herself. She covered her face again, still glowing. "Stop calling them that." Kyle laughed with her. "Sorry, translator problem." She looked up at him. "Tomorrow, the tribal council will ask what comes next." "And what does come next?" he asked. She paused, then said quietly, "You meet my mother." Kyle choked. "Wait, what?" Kyle thought bonding with a shy alien girl in front of an entire village would be the weirdest thing to ever happen to him. He was wrong, because now he was standing in front of her mother. Tlea's mother, Matriarch Visari, was not just any mother. She was taller, sharper, and wore a crown made of glowing teeth. Her voice was soft but heavy, like distant thunder. She studied Kyle from head to toe, eyes pausing at the glowing bond mark on his chest. "This is the human?" she asked, her tone unreadable. Tlea stood beside Kyle, trying not to hide behind him, though her fingers kept twitching nervously. "Yes, mother," she whispered. Kyle smiled awkwardly. "Hi, I didn't know I'd be meeting the Queen of Coconuts today." Tlea slapped her forehead. "Please stop saying that." The matriarch raised one brow. "Coconuts?" Tlea mumbled, translator error. Kyle cleared his throat. "What I mean is, I didn't mean for any of this to happen, but I do care about your daughter." Matriarch Visari gave a slight nod. Then she turned and motioned for them to follow her deeper into the family shrine, a glowing cave made of crystal roots. Echoing with whispers of ancient energy, they entered a chamber filled with floating symbols, slowly rotating around a single object, a giant glowing fruit locked inside a force field. Kyle recognized it. "That's the fruit I picked," he said. "The one I gave Tlea?" Visari spoke without turning. "That is no fruit, human. It is the seed of Colunve. It awakens what is hidden. It pulls forward what lies beneath." Kyle blinked. "So it's like emotional fertilizer?" Tlea coughed to hide a laugh. "Kind of, but for the soul." Visari turned around now, facing Kyle directly. "In Zerilian biology, females grow slowly. Until the bond is awakened, they remain dormant. But once gifted the seed, their bodies shift, their instincts rise, and their path becomes clear." Kyle scratched his head. "So, giving it to her was like flipping her on switch." "In a way," Visari said. "But more than that, it means you saw her." Kyle looked at Tlea. "I just saw someone kind and curious. I liked her." Tlea looked down shyly, her cheeks slowly glowing again. Visari continued. "The size of the transformation reflects not just biology, but how strongly the gift was received." Kyle turned slowly to Tlea. "So, your coconuts got that big because of me?" She covered her face with both hands. "Yes, please stop saying that." Kyle laughed, but there was softness in his voice now. "I didn't mean to embarrass you." "You didn't," she whispered. "You just surprised me." Later, outside the shrine, the two sat on a rock near the glowing waterfall that ran through the village. Tlea played with the hem of her robe. "You probably didn't plan for this." Kyle shook his head. Nope, I thought maybe I'd study a few alien plants. Not bond myself to a beautiful girl who glows when nervous, she smiled. You still can leave, you know. Even with the... Mark. Kyle looked at her. Do you want me to leave? She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled a small glowing flower from her pocket. This only grows where hearts are open. My people believe if it blooms in your hand, it means your soul has accepted your new path. She handed it to him. Kyle took the flower. It glowed. Clea's mouth fell open. It bloomed. Kyle smiled, holding it carefully. Guess I'm not leaving, huh? She leaned against him just a little, her voice soft, trembling. Then you should know. The transformation isn't over. Kyle looked at her. What do you mean? She swallowed. The gift changes more than just the body. It changes desire, instincts, I might get. Clingy, protective, even jealous. He smirked. So, just like a regular girlfriend? She giggled nervously. Zerilian girlfriends can lift heavy rocks and bite through bone. Kyle paused. Okay, that's new information. She gave him a playful nudge. Just warning you. He looked at her glowing cheeks again and smiled. I don't mind. I think I'm starting to like danger. Clea looked up at the stars. Kyle? Yeah? I think my coconuts are done growing now. He coughed. Thank you for the update. They both laughed under the twin moons of Zerilia, unaware that something else was watching them from the trees, something that didn't like humans bonding with sacred blood, and it wasn't Gravix. The stars above Zerilia blinked like curious eyes. Kyle sat with Clea beside the glowing waterfall, still holding the small flower that had bloomed in his hand. Everything felt peaceful. Too peaceful. And peace never lasted long on alien worlds. Crack echoed in the distance, like a dry bone snapping in the forest. Clea's ears twitched. She straightened. Did you hear that? Kyle frowned. Probably just an animal. But... Clea was already on her feet, scanning the dark tree line. No, that sound isn't natural. Before Kyle could ask more, a blast of hot wind hit them. The trees bent as if something massive had passed through them silently. Then it stepped out, a tall, armored beast, covered in black stone like plates, glowing red eyes burning through the jungle mist. Its body looked half living, half machine. Its voice wasn't spoken, it was beamed straight into their minds. The bond has triggered the ancient law. The seed-bearer cannot join with a human. The bloodline must remain pure. Kyle stumbled. Back. What the hell is that? Clea's voice was quiet but shaking. An eco-judge, a guardian from the old days. They only wake when forbidden bonds are made. Kyle turned to her. Forbiddance? But your mother accepted me. Clea looked down. She did, but the forest spirit might not. The eco-judge raised a massive claw, charging energy in its palm. Step away, human, or be erased. Clea stepped in front of Kyle. No, the judge paused. You protect him? I chose him, she shouted. By will, not accident. The judge didn't respond. Instead, it raised the claw again. Kyle grabbed Clea's hand and whispered, We run. Now! They sprinted through the forest as energy blasts shattered trees behind them. Leaves caught fire. Roots exploded. Every breath Kyle took burned. They finally ducked into a hollow cave, where the energy couldn't follow. Kyle dropped to his knees, coughing. What was that thing? Clea wiped her forehead. A relic of purity. Long ago our people built judges to stop interspecies mixing. They thought it would corrupt our evolution. Kyle sat in silence. So now, it wants to kill me because I gave you a fruit. Clea shook her head. Because you gave me choice. Kyle closed his eyes. Back. On Earth, he had been invisible, just a science guy. A no-name plant expert. Here on Zerilia, he was someone's bond. And someone else's threat. Clea sat beside him, her voice barely a whisper. You can still leave. The bond stays with me, but if you go beyond the moon line, the judge can't follow. Kyle looked at her. Her eyes were filled with something more painful than fear, the fear of being abandoned. He remembered her laugh, her awkward smile, the way her cheeks glowed whenever he said coconuts. He remembered how she stood in front of the tribe to protect him. even if it meant shame, but was he ready to fight a creature designed to erase him from existence? Kyle stood and stared at the glowing jungle beyond the cave. "If I run," he said, "I'll always wonder what I left behind." Playa looked down. Kyle stepped toward her. "If I stay, I may die?" She nodded. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "But at least I'll die standing beside someone I chose." Playa looked up at him, eyes wide and glowing softly. "Then I choose you again," she whispered. Suddenly, a small light appeared from the mark on Kyle's chest. The bindstone symbol pulsed like a living heartbeat and began to glow brighter. Playa gasped. "It's responding to your decision." The ground around them lit up with vines that shimmered gold. The forest was listening. The real spirit of Zerilia was watching, and it had not decided yet. Outside, the Echo Judge stood waiting. Its voice echoed again. "The time has come. Choose now, human, flee and live, or stay and face extinction." Kyle stepped out of the cave, the mark on his chest burning brighter than ever. "I already chose," he said. "Come and try." The vines on the ground moved, wrapping around his legs like armor, crawling up his body with a soft hum. Playa stepped beside him. "You're not alone." The judge prepared its final attack. The forest lit up with power. And so began the moment where a quiet human plant expert became something. More, something the ancients never planned for, a protector, a mata challenger to the old laws. The jungle held its breath. Night had fallen, but the stars above blinked furiously, reflecting the tension below. In the center of a burning clearing, Kyle stood with glowing vines wrapped around his body like armor. Beside him stood Playa, eyes blazing with both fear and love. Before them towered the Echo Judge, its claw pulsing with red-hot power, ancient codes spiraling across its stone skin. It was not just a machine, it was a ghost of Zerilia's past. A ghost built to protect purity, and now it wanted to erase a love born by accident, but made real by choice. "You defy the ancient law," the judge's voice boomed into the air. "Human blood must not bind with sacred seed." Kyle stepped forward. "I don't care about your law," he shouted, the mark on his chest glowing like a sun. "I care about her." Playa looked at him, eyes wide. She had never been chosen like this, not by duty, not by force, but by will. "I didn't ask the bond," Kyle continued. "But I chose to stay. I chose to protect her. And I won't let some fossil-covered toaster tell me our bond doesn't matter." The forest responded, the ground trembled, the vines tightened. Around Kyle, fusing with his skin, not painful, but empowering. They weren't just plants. They were living memories of Zerilia's ancient roots, responding to his soul. Suddenly, the energy from the bindstone on his chest shot out straight into the sky. The stars shimmered. The judge hesitated. "Impossible, Playa stepped forward. Now, her coconuts glowing faintly. "Okay, fine," her sacred signs of maturity. But this time she held her head high. "I am not corrupted," she said loudly. "I am evolved. And I do not stand behind him. I stand with him." The Echo Judge raised its arm one last time. A beam fired toward them, but the forest moved. Vines, light, and raw planetary energy spiraled around Kyle and Playa, forming a shield that shattered the beam emitter. The sound echoed like a dying star. The judge froze, its eyes flickered, then dimmed. Verdict updated, bond accepted, evolution ... approved. With a low rumble, the Echo Judge lowered its head. It disappeared into the soil, swallowed by the very roots it once served. Silence. Then wind. Then tears. Playa turned to Kyle. You just changed our world?" Kyle smiled, panting. "So ... You think your mom will like me now?" Playa laughed and punched his shoulder softly. "She might even call you son-in-law." Kyle chuckled. "As long as I don't have to wear a glowing crown made of teeth." Days later, back at the village, everything was different. Kyle was no longer the outsider. Now he was the bonded one, the first human ever accepted by the spirit of Zerilia. Children followed him, mimicking his earth walk. Tribal maidens whispered and giggled whenever he passed, and Gravix. He now worked in the root farms, wearing a bitter face and carrying buckets of slime fruit. Theo watched Kyle help with the village harvest, his hands covered in sweet red sap. He was laughing, glowing, fully part of a world that once rejected him. She walked over and handed him a wet cloth. "You're getting good at this," Kyle grinned. "Turns out bonding with an alien changes more than just your weekends." They sat together under the same tree where it had all begun. The tree that grew the first sacred fruit. The one that started it all. Kyle looked at her. "So, no regrets?" Clea smiled, her glow soft and calm. "Just one," she said. Kyle blinked. "Oh?" She leaned in close. "I should have caught that fruit sooner." And then, finally, she kissed him soft, glowing, and full of everything they never said with words far above them. The spirit of the forest watched and whispered a new legend into the stars. It began with a gift misunderstood, but it ended with two hearts understood.